The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. It's time for the Guillotine Grapevine, a podcast for the land of 10,000 wrestlers. 10,000 wrestlers. Now, here's your host, award-winning wrestling broadcast journalist, Jason Bryant.
Episode 35 of the Guillotine Grapevine here on theguillotine.com. Jason Bryant here with you, visiting today with Simley's own Cadet World Champion, Daniel Kerkvliet. Daniel, first of all, it's been a couple months since you've won the World Championship, going into your junior year at Simley. What have you thought about reflecting back on that championship in Athens over the summer?
I was happy about it. It was a cool experience going over there with the team, but I see it as there's more to come, and that was a huge stepping stone to seniors.
Last year, state champion, 45-1. Your one loss was to a guy who's now wrestling at the University of Iowa, Jacob Warner. What did that sophomore season do in terms of the realization that, I'm one of the best in the country, and I'm one of the best in the world. I can compete at that next level?
Yeah, it definitely boosted my confidence, just realizing that I could wrestle with anybody.
Now, when we get back into how you got your start in wrestling, your dad wrestled at Simley, and then you initially were born out east in Connecticut, and then started to make you guys' way back to the Midwest. And he said you started growing up wrestling in Wisconsin. What was it like jumping into wrestling for the first time for you?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked wrestling from a young age. It was my main sport my whole life, mostly. I played other sports like football, but wrestling was the main sport.
Guy your size walking around the high schools, that's got to be like, hey, man, what position are you? DN? No, I'm a state champ wrestler. I mean, you got to get a lot of tugs to come out of that football field.
Yeah, I've been asked a couple of times here and there to come out for football.
Now that you've got a world gold medal, it's kind of easier to say, hey, I got this wrestling thing I'm going to follow up on.
Yeah.
Now, I had a chance to talk with your parents. Actually, it was probably like 3 a.m. I run into them at the airport, and we start chatting. You show up. You're wearing the belt. What was it like wearing the World Championship belt through the airport in Athens, Greece?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was like, I don't know. It was just like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I saw it as.
I mean, it was like the bling, the champ is here. I'm just thinking, what do they say when you go through airport security with that thing?
They didn't say anything. Yeah.
I mean,
really.
at that point, there had been four U.S. champs coming through, so they're like, oh, another U.S. wrestling champion. Nah, let him go.
Yeah.
Well, first thing, was that your first trip overseas ever?
Yeah, it was.
So let's just talk about the travel and the acclimation. You know, Coach Kevin Jackson and the crew with the developmental program. What did they tell you to prepare for? Because a lot of you, it was the first time you had left the country, first time you got a passport, getting to that airport security line a lot longer than normal. You know, what did the coaches tell you to how to prepare for a trip like this?
Over there we brought 2 bags. We brought like a carry-on bag where we brought just like an extra change of clothes just in case they lost our other bag. So we brought like food, clothes, wrestling shoes, stuff like that, just in case. It was a long flight. Different.
So when you guys got to Athens, how much of it was, okay, let's go check out some sites and acclimate, or was it get right to work with practice and technique?
We took a day out to go check out sites, but it was get right to work. For other guys, it was get down to weight, but yeah, it was workouts.
How much weight? Was it a cut for you at all? I mean, you're growing. You're still young, so I mean, I'm guessing you're going to grow out of that weight class. Of course, by the time you're in college, you're expected to be a heavyweight. But you know, was it a tough cut for you at all?
No, I didn't cut at all. I was actually a couple kilos under going into it.
Oh, so you got to enjoy the great street food, or just the food itself of Greece?
Yeah, I got to eat.
What was your favorite grub over there?
Me and Gavin Hoffman went over to some restaurant by our hotel. They had pretty good fish over there.
Yeah, I would guess that Greece is probably a safer place to eat like ocean fish than Minnesota is. Here we got the walleye, but you're not really going to get like, a good ocean fish out there. I mean, what was some unique things that you picked up about the Greek culture that you may not have known beforehand?
I mean, not too much is different. I mean, the area that we were in, it was kind of secluded. It wasn't like in the city of Athens. It was a hour drive from our hotel to the arena. So we didn't get to see too much of like the culture of Greece, but yeah.
Did the coaching staff let you know that you guys were going to be competing in the same arena that the 2004 Olympics were held in?
Yeah, they let us know. That was really cool.
I mean, it's and a lot of jokes about the Olympics on look at Rio, that the area around the venues are kind of desolate now. The area around that arena was kind of sketchy too. I mean, it's like, okay, we're here to win a world championship, and whoa, we're not going outside.
Yeah.
So when you get back and you had verbally committed to Minnesota, during your sophomore year, and of course there's a guy right down the road in Apple Valley that's pretty good, and he had committed to Minnesota as a year ahead of you. Why the early decision to say I'm going to go to Minnesota?
When I was like a year ago.
Yeah.
Why'd I commit?
Yeah.
It was close to home. It was at that time I felt like I was going to be a 97 pounder, and what better training partner than Gable Stevenson? And I liked the coaches, and I knew people on the team already. I really liked the guys on the team.
Is it something about wanting to, wrestling and growing up in Minnesota, spending a lot of your time growing up in Minnesota, and that allure to the Gophers that's kind of part of it?
I'm sure that did something that was involved with it.
So the whole recruitment process, you're high on the list because good, active, mobile heavyweights are really hard to find. Even 97 and heavyweights are really hard to find. So when there's a good one comes along, the eyes of all the coaches around Division I open. When did you start feeling a lot more interest? Was it before you made the cadet team, or was it after the gold medal? I mean, did those calls pick up?
Yeah, it was definitely after the gold medal. That helped.
So when that happens, your stock is obviously up. You're ranked, I think number 3 in the country as far as those prospect rankings go at that weight class. And there's that guy Stevenson, that guy Mason Paris, and then you. There's a pretty good group there. And when you realize that there's a bigger world out there than Minneapolis, how many other schools did you start seriously looking at before you made another verbal commitment?
I took a visit to 3 schools, unofficial, but I was talking to 2 more, a couple more on top of that.
What's it like to deal with that? I mean, obviously I was not a good athlete. I was not getting recruiting calls. I don't know what this is like, but for a kid your age, with all the social media and all the ways that coaches and even athletes from those programs can contact you, what was the most daunting thing about basically the process reopening when it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to get all the calls, get the attention. I mean, I was really finding just a place where I felt like I could fit in and be at home. There's nothing like too daunting about it. Nothing like that made me nervous about it.
How much of these decisions do you weigh with your parents? They seem to be very grounded people, and your dad knows the sport very well. So what is the decision? I mean, you still can't sign until next November. You've still got a whole nother year before you can actually sign the paperwork with your national letter of intent. But what are these discussions like around the house?
I mean, Yeah, I discuss everything with them, from like where I'm going to take my visits, where I'm going to take them, what schools I'm looking at. I discuss that all with them.
What's been the most helpful thing you've gotten from them?
Just some good advice, them opening my eyes to things like I didn't realize, looking at different things, reasons why like I shouldn't go to a place, or reasons why I should, or what they liked about it, what they noticed about it.
Did you experience any type of things that were maybe, there's been talk about negative recruiting programs trying to say, oh, you shouldn't go here because of this, or were most coaches say playing up their programs versus trying to put down others?
Playing up their programs. No, I didn't get the feeling of putting down others.
That kind of make you feel better about the whole process?
Yeah.
When it comes to this high school season, you've won a world championship. Now, how do you change your goals? The goals will probably win another state championship, but how have your individual and team goals shifted now that you're no longer an unknown entity, not just in the state of Minnesota but nationally?
I mean, they haven't shifted too much. The goal is still to Christmas tournament, Clash, Cheesehead, state tournament, Fargo, national, and make another world team. They're all still the same goals.
And here's the scary thing to some people: you're still be a UWW cadet next year. You can repeat.
Yeah, I've got one more year of cadets.
That's
UWW.
What's also frightening is that Gable technically was also a cadet, a UWW cadet age this year too, and he goes out and wins a junior title.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what is that relationship like? Obviously, you guys have, you said, what better training partner when you initially thought you were going to be a 97 pounder, but, how often do you guys roll around the summer, and what's that relationship like?
We rolled around quite a bit during the summer, preparing for Worlds up at the U of M. But yeah, it's a pretty good relationship.
What about the relationship with your coaches at Simley? That's a proud program. You're kind of a legacy there, and there's been legacies that have run that program for years. I mean, how much do you really grasp what Simley means to not just the community there, but the state of Minnesota in its wrestling program?
Yeah, it's for sure a good program. I like the coaches a lot. They're great. Coach Short, whatever you need, he can get you. And it's just like endless amounts of resources, I'd say. Great for the state also.
Do you realize every time you put on that singlet, if people are gunning for Apple Valley, people are gunning for Simley, people are gunning for those type of programs. What's it mean to have a target on your back out there?
I kind of like it, to be honest. Like, that means that people are watching you. It just adds an aspect of excitement, I'd say.
One place that you've also spent time training is up here on the north side of the metro, about 10 minutes from where I live, is at Pinnacle with the Lawrences and the Paulsons. What was the training at Pinnacle like, and how much did that prepare you for this summer?
It was great. Technique that they show is top notch. Like, I'd say best in the world. They bring in guys for me, which is awesome. So I get everything I need at Pinnacle. And they have a great lifting program.
Yeah, I got a pretty good little gym next door to the mats. I've been over there a couple times, and unfortunately, the one time I went and I tried to wrestle Greco, that did not end well. When it comes to that staff, though, Paulson's got that Greco background. Of course, he did pretty well at those things called the Olympics, and then you got the Lawrence with the freestyle background. How much do you draw from each respective style that you play into? I got these Greco techniques that I'm going to use more in freestyle, and then the international styles that you bring into your folk style wrestling. How much of that just blends all together?
It blends pretty well. I mean, Brandon teaching the underhooks, I'm going to try to. That's a good thing to utilize in folk style and freestyle. It helps a lot.
Now, okay, so Brandon Paulson underhooks. Okay, you're like what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah.
And he is like 5'2", 5'3". How does he teach you underhooks, man?
Yeah, he shows them on different.
Oh, so when you're in that pinnacle room, you bringing in the different looks, and college guys come back and work out over the summer. When you first stepped into that room, when did you realize, oh, this is for real?
Yeah, it's always been for real. I've always had great workout partners going in there, from like Garrett Joels to Hayden Zilmer to Rowan Morgan. I've had good friends in there and great workout partners.
Coach Paulson put out something the other day with a photo of the commitments on signing day. There's like 11 or 12 that are just committed right then and there of this senior class. What's it mean to be part of a group like that? Not just you got a great team at Simley, you got a great club at Pinnacle. I mean, you've got the best of both worlds here for a high school athlete. What's it mean to you to see so many of your club teammates around you going to wrestling college and your high school teammates going to wrestling college as well?
It's pretty cool. It's exciting. It's awesome seeing them compete on the next level, seeing them that they're going to compete Division I. That's pretty exciting that it can be done for other people.
There's a life outside of wrestling, and granted, at your age, what, are you 16? You 17 yet?
16.
Yeah, people built like you at 16 shouldn't exist. It's just not fair, man. It's just not fair. But when you look at life, and there's a lot of time before you have to make this decision, but it's that question you get as a kid. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?
As of now, I'm looking into a business major and see where that takes me when I get into college.
And pursuing wrestling, you've obviously been on the international scene, so you've got some world and Olympic dreams that you're going to be chasing?
Yeah.
So there's a guy, if things work out right, you probably be, college heavyweight coming down to maybe the 220, wherever the weight class is situated. You think you're more there, or you think you're more of the super heavyweight?
I think coming down to 220 or 210, whatever it is, it's probably where I'll end up.
So there's a guy there right now. You might have heard of him, Kyle Snyder. What do you think about watching Kyle Snyder wrestle?
I mean, yeah, I can take a lot of things from him that he does. He uses great technique and great things, but that's a guy I'm going to have to beat in a couple of years.
Yeah, because he's not very old, man. He's not that much older than you are. That's crazy, isn't it?
No, yeah.
With these opportunities to make world teams and represent the United States, there's also opportunities to train. And you got great training partners at Simley and great training partners at Pinnacle and with the Minnesota Storm at the age group levels. But you also have the opportunity to train with the national team, and there's trips out to Colorado Springs and whatnot, and you have the opportunity to get with the junior team and the senior team. Who's the best wrestler you've had the opportunity to drill with in this past summer?
It'd probably be drilling with Jaden Cox. That was the best, I'd say.
So he's a guy, world bronze medal, Olympic bronze medal, 3 NCAA titles, multi-talented off the mat with multiple musical instruments and is singing. And then you get around a guy like that. When you see a wrestler like that, what do you as a 16-year-old high school junior to be go like? I mean, what type of questions do you ask him, or you just sit around and listen?
I'm more of a sit around and listen type of guy. I don't ask too many questions.
What was the most surprising thing you learned about working out with him?
I don't know. Nothing really surprised me. He was just himself.
All right, but of course, the one thing everybody wants to know about working out with Jaden Cox is how much does this guy sweat when you're wrestling him?
He sweats a ton. Yeah, it's a lot.
So as we circle back to your high school season coming into your junior year, you said you had the goals of at the tournaments, individual goals. With the way the schedules work this year, you may have an opportunity to wrestle in Fargo and at the world level since the calendars are a little bit split. Have you given that a thought to win that big stop sign in Fargo? Because that's one that, World Championships gold medal. That's awesome. But here in the States, people still want to bring home that stop sign.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, and that's something I think I will pursue. Fargo and Worlds.
When you look at the state of Minnesota wrestling, I was talking with Air Force coach Sam Barber on Sunday after the Gophers win over Air Force, and he spent some time here, and now he coaches out in Colorado Springs. And he said that the Minnesota wrestling community is one of the greatest in the world. You, at 16 years old, what do you really understand about the Minnesota wrestling community, and how much do you think that other people don't have it as good as we do here in Minnesota?
I mean, the Minnesota wrestling community, I think, is great. They'll tell you what they think, and they'll tell you if they're happy or if they're not. I mean, it's great. Wrestling, you can make a ton of friends here in Minnesota. I'm sure like anywhere else, but yeah, it's a great wrestling community, I'd say.
And the wrestling community as a whole, when you're on these trips, you get to spend time with guys like Kirk Henry and athletes like that, at Will Lewan, people that win belts. Colton Schultz won a Greco title. These are trips that you build friendships with, and lifetime friendships. There are people that say, yeah, we were on a trip when we were 18 over to Belarus or to Bulgaria. Now you've got those trips already. You've already got one. What's one thing that really surprised you about maybe making a friend you wouldn't have expected on one of these national team trips?
Yeah, what surprised me is just how the team just really came together and how we acted like we've known each other for, I don't know, years. No, it wasn't awkward for a bit. But yeah, we really came together. I made some good friends. Yeah, great workout partners, I'd say.
And easy, more Snapchat follows. I don't know, dude. I'm like the worst at Snapchat. I'm too old for it, I guess. I mean, I can do my Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook fine. I don't get to Snapchat. I just can't figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely different. More private.
and as we set up this interview, actually was DMing your dad on Twitter. That's how things have gone these days. It's like, all right, I'll just ask his dad. Now, Daniel, when you're looking at things that you want to be known for, whether it be wrestling and life and just the sport in general, what are some things that you've discovered about yourself that say, yep, people are going to remember me for this?
I don't know. I'd say wanting to be known for is just like a great person off the mat, just as a hard worker on the mat and in the wrestling room. That's probably a big thing for me.
Now, as we get into things outside of wrestling, what's you're a sit back and listen type of guy, you said, but what topic outside of wrestling makes you talk the most? Like, is it music? Is it movies? What is your I guess guilty pleasure, for lack of a better term?
I like to watch like a lot of history videos on YouTube. I'd say, yeah, like World War I, World War II stuff. Just interesting, I'd say. I can talk about that for a little bit.
Documentaries and things of that nature?
Yeah.
That's one thing I guess we do have in common outside of living in the same state. I'll watch these things. My wife would be bored to tears. Like, why are you watching this document? It's like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Like, yeah. I'll sit there and go down that rabbit hole of YouTube as well. So, what's your favorite historical figure? Like, if there was somebody in history that you would want to meet, who would it be?
I can't say I really have one. That'd be a hard question.
Okay. Who's the most intriguing? Who's somebody that you want to maybe find more about, and that you find yourself maybe on YouTube saying, okay, I want to look, whoa, there's something else about this guy?
Probably just, I don't know, Winston Churchill, I'd say.
If there was somebody in history, whether it be a wrestler or a historical figure, this is a question I ask a lot of people that are on my short time program. that you could wrestle, who would you want to wrestle most from history?
I'd want to wrestle Dave Schultz probably, just from the tons of knowledge that he had, just realizing like how much you could learn from maybe one go or one practice with him, how much better you could get.
Yeah, I find it's interesting that teenagers are answering Dave Schultz because he passed away in 1996. I was, let's see if I can do my math. I was 17, about to turn 17. You weren't even born yet. So how does somebody your age, outside, I mean, we know we've had the documentaries that have come out in the movies. How did you first discover the name Dave Schultz to know that should be your answer?
YouTube videos, just hearing about him. Yeah.
Did Kevin Jackson tell you any Dave Schultz stories on that trip?
No, he didn't. He didn't get to those.
KJ's a storyteller. He's a fun guy. He likes to laugh, and he's got his coaching mannerisms. What was the best thing you learned about Coach Kevin Jackson on that trip?
Just he's super intense, and he likes things to be perfect, just in every way. Like drilling wise, the move's got to be perfect.
So is it safe to say that your technique is notably better going into this high school season than it was last high school season?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So looking at your build, if you've got your go-to move, what is your go-to takedown and what is your go-to pinning combination?
Probably single leg, and I'd probably just slap a half on or cradle.
Yeah, well, when you slap a half or a cradle on, there's really a lot of people don't really have a whole lot of choice other than to go over. So you've been pretty successful at that. But Daniel, anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up this episode of the Guillotine Grapevine? Anybody we didn't talk about that was pivotal in your world championship run?
I'd say Braxton Amos coming out for a week and working with me before Worlds. That was great. Just a couple great goes. Helped me warm up.
I mean, we know how good he is on paper, but what's he like to work out with?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a great workout partner.
Support wrestling in the land of 10,000 wrestlers by subscribing to The Guillotine. 9 issues a year for just $20, the best value in Minnesota wrestling. Subscribe at theguillotine.com/subscribe.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.